Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Green Wisdom Health Show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm scrambling to get on the microphone.
Well, and that's what we're going to talk about, acid reflux from it. Today's show is called Acid Indigestion and Bloating because, ironically, we've been having a lot of clients come in that have been telling us about having real bad heartburn and indigestion. I don't know if it's from what they're watching on the news or Facebook or what, or a combination of all of it. But Dr. Lewis is going to talk with us today and tell us what we can do about those things. Many people get on PPIs and are prescription medications for that kind of stuff, and then it causes other issues. So Dr. Lewis is going to tell us today what we can do to help that, and some other options that are natural that you might consider in place of, well, we won't tell you in place of your prescription medication. We will tell you that it could help you as much or be a lot healthier choice, and that would be up to you. So, Dr. Lewis, educate us a little bit about indigestion and bloating and what's causing that, please.
Yeah, my mother needed to take, I think it was the purple pill, because it gave her great relief. I said, well, take it. It's okay. But you have to take a lot of digestive enzymes with it. And, I'm going over some notes. I just kind of happened on this because I take a lot of seminars. Like, holy jeez, I take too many seminars. We're going to Tulsa tomorrow for another one. And I just got over 2 weeks of 2 weekends of seminars the other day. One of my notes says, if you're all hyped up and anxious, you need glutamine. Why glutamine? Well, glutamine heals the gut lining, and it kind of segues right into what we're talking about. One of the best things, I'm going to jump the gun and just go to GI support. That's one of the powders that we have, and the first thing in it is free-form glutamine. It's really, really, really good, and then it's got N-acetyl D-glucosamine. So there's, I guess Janet gives that to me in the mornings. But how your guts are doing is reflected by how you think, how you speak, whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you're agitated or not. So think more glutamine, because that helps the inside lining of your GI tract heal.
That helps with anxiety as well, correct?
Yeah, if you're anxious and hyped up. So when I'm agitating the heck out of Janet, maybe she needs glutamine or maybe I do. We're not sure. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. So let's just talk about acid indigestion and all that. And, I'm just going to ramble with notes. There are things that you can take that decreases the histamine reaction, which is, what's that? Serenade? Is that right? What do you give me at lunch? Whatever that is.
Serenade helps break down the dairy and
somewhat
gluten.
Yeah, and since I've gone so-called gluten-free, and that's on our wheat Zoomer bundle on our website, specialty test, I've gone gluten-free, but it's not really gluten-free because, that's almost impossible if you eat out. So I take that, and about 90-95% of all my gut problems have gone away, and it was pretty serious. So you need to start eating real food. You want to get rid of the sodium nitrate in the hot dogs, vanillin in cream, BHT, BHA, all that kind of stuff. You need to eat as little processed foods with the fewest ingredients possible. And that's one of the things that causes a lot of so-called acid reflux. And there's a lot of possibilities. It can be an overgrowth of H. pylori, but I tell people, go to a good GI doctor, have them do their scope, and make sure there's not a big booger bear in there. Booger bear would translate into something really, really horrible that the medical profession needs to deal with. And so many people come to us and they're so anti-medical. You should not be anti-medical. They will save your bacon. And many, many, many of us have too low stomach acid. It's called hypochlorhydria, the technical term. And
we'll talk about that a little bit, because usually when they go to the doctor, they tell them that they have too much stomach acid. That's why they put them on the PPIs, little purple pill, other little colored pills.
Well, that's based on symptoms, and okay, I think it's a noble thing to take a drug to feel better. There's nothing wrong with killing pain and making the symptoms less or making them go away completely. But are you really getting to the underlying problem? That's the question. And I did a TV commercial one time, and I said, your oil light's coming on, and I got under the hood and I clipped a wire. I said, oil light went off because I just clipped a wire. Now let's go driving around and see what happens. And, that was a good analogy. I got a lot of feedback from it, about 99% positive, and other people said, you're silly as heck. Well, yeah, I am. So most of us, kind of the majority, maybe 50%, maybe a little bit more, have different gastric symptoms. And some of the experts say that you're harboring H. pylori. Well, that's a bacteria they say causes ulcers, but it can be other bad bacteria also. And if you have higher hydrochloric acid, then you're going to kill out that stuff. And you need to take, of course, massive probiotics too. That helps. And Janet said something one time about mastic gum. I said, yeah, it kills H. pylori. She said, how do you know that? I said, I don't know. Read it somewhere. And she looked it up and said, that's a real obscure study. I said, well, maybe I obscurely read it 20 years ago. I don't know. But this Digestease, I told a friend of mine's husband, they drove in from Dallas, which is about 2.5 hours away. They came in yesterday. He has it really, really horrible. I said, well, number one, quit eating wheat. And that's been written in Wheat Belly and Life Without Bread. They're two really good books. But it has DGL, or deglycerized licorice, and it has mastic gum. I said, this stuff's so good you can bootleg it. It really works that well. And I heard that from all kinds of different patients.
And they're little bitty well, they're not little bitty. They're like a little wafer type deal that you can suck on right after you've eaten the offensive food or you're having the indigestion type episode, and it will calm it down. And
this guy that married a friend of mine's daughter, she's like a daughter to me. I said, Sean, it's kind of like, well, never mind, I won't tell you what I said, but it's nasty, 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 but it's better than what it was. And he said, well, that makes it sound attractive. I said, well, it tastes bad, but it's about 100 times better than what you're feeling with your acid reflux, and you're going to end up scarring your esophagus. That's why I like for people to go to their GI doctor and get a scope to see if you have Barrett's esophagus or see if it's turned into cancer. That's a good thing. Our medical doctors do really good work. We work together with many nurse practitioners, physicians, assistants, osteopaths, and medical doctors. So, I don't know, we get really good results, but so do they. So let's get healthier. And then intestinal dysbiosis. Many, many people have that. And we can kind of suspect it if your alkaline phosphatase is low, which means you need zinc. But, well, if you have too little zinc, you have lowered immune system. And it almost always means you have too many bad bugs, not enough good bugs. The book, and I read dozens and dozens and dozens per year, and some of them are not any good. Don't think just because they wrote it down means it's good. But the book that's probably the easiest to read is called Skinny Gut Diet. I loaned it out. I don't know where it went. Geez, I hope it comes back to me sometime. Diseases and symptoms that can be from acid reflux or intestinal dysbiosis. You can get to ulcers, peptic ulcers, duodenal ulcers, gastric ulcers. You can get gallbladder disease, and people say, but I had my gallbladder taken out. And they don't have a clue that meant there was dysfunction in the first place. Just because you take out the offending organ doesn't mean the condition that created it is gone. It's like, well, I had a headache. Don't take my head off. Yeah, I'm a smart aleck like that. People have spastic colon, gas, cramps, intermittent diarrhea and or constipation, indigestion, IBS for short, but frequent bouts of pain. Some of the reasons is food allergies, candida or overgrowth of candida. That's why I love our Saccharomyces boulardii, because it's a yeast, but it takes candida and dances with it and carries it on out when you have a bowel movement. Good probiotics in addition to the probiotic yeast Saccharomyces. Glutamine, and more glutamine. That's why the GI stuff I mentioned earlier is really, really good. You have a GI issue if you got hemorrhoids, and that may be from constipation, diverticulosis, that when it gets inflamed turns into diverticulitis. They found that on me one time when they was doing that coronary calcium score. It's like, how can you find diverticulosis down in my guts? You're supposed to be looking at my heart. They said, well, we look all around. I said, well, what else did you find or not find? But that's another story. If you have black tarry stools or you have blood, go see your GI doctor. And yes, you need to be doing our stuff, but not without seeing a GI doctor also. Some of the Crohn's disease, celiac, blood in the blood or mucus in the bowel movement can be caused by a diet, and that's why our wheat zoomer bundle is super duper holy jeez important. Oh, we were going to read a...
Yeah, I was going to save that. He has all my notes. It's like you're reading my mail over here, literally.
I'm psychotic. I'm sorry, psychic. Yeah. So the food and environmental toxins, chemical dust, mold allergies, candida, and you need nutrient protocol. Now, most of us have too much candida from, the intestinal dysbiosis. Now, most of us have it. Those books were written 30, 40 years ago. The Yeast Connection, go get that book and read it, and it's like, oh my God, now I know why Dr. Lewis put me on probiotics plus the Saccharomyces probiotic yeast. And people get so much better. So read Grain Brain. That's a good one.
So if you experience acid reflux symptoms more than twice a week, you're very likely having reflux disease or GERD, which involves bloating, burning pain in your chest, and gut discomfort. GERD sufferers who experience pronounced reflux symptoms, it's more concentrated in the upper throat area, including the pharynx and voice box, and they may have a more serious condition called laryngopharyngeal reflux, right, Dr. Lewis?
Yeah, can you say that 3 times real fast?
It's called LPR.
Oh, thank you.
And it occurs when pepsin, a digestive enzyme from your stomach, damages the sensitive tissue in the back of your throat, resulting in symptoms like a lump in your throat that doesn't go away. So when Dr. Lewis is mentioning glutamine and these digestive enzymes, this is another part of it that if you have this, you might want to consider using these products. Excessive throat clearing or throat mucus is a sign of GERD. Hoarseness, persistent cough or sore throat, trouble breathing or swallowing.
Mm-hmm.
So consider that. And the other thing, I wanted you to mention, because we're pretty excited about this too. We've got a new product in, and a lot of people don't know the difference between a probiotic and a digestive enzyme. If you're patients of ours, you know the difference because Dr. Lewis tries to educate you about all that, but a lot of people think that that's the exact same thing. So I was hoping maybe you could tell them about our new product that we just got in. We've always had digestive essentials for those of you that have been taking enzymes. They were capsules that you take in the middle of your meal. But
that's generally for the people that eat meat because of the oxbile and hydrochloric acid that's in it.
Right, but could you tell them about our new product and what it helps with?
Well, it's a different blend of digestive enzymes. We call it Chewable Digestive Essentials V, which doesn't necessarily mean it's for vegetarians or vegans, but for people that eat a great amount of vegetables and the people that don't like to swallow, like me, because of some of the symptoms we've talked about with the throat. I chew them up now, and I usually put my digestive enzymes in the middle of the meal, but I think it's really best to do this before the meal. And they're chewable. They taste pretty good.
They're little bitty. They're super tiny. So if you just put them, like I put them in my purse, and there's like 180 of them in there, I think.
Yeah.
You take 2 of them right before you eat. They do a different action than the ones that you're taking as capsules, correct?
Yeah. And frankly, I don't carry digestive enzymes because Janet does it for me. I take at least 2 different types with every meal.
Right. But I have a great chiropractor because my purse is so heavy from carrying all these pills around that I give him during lunch.
Yeah, well, it's not a 45 automatic, but I wish she'd carry that too, but she doesn't because they're heavy.
Well, what we're excited about, I have one lady right now that you talked about, the Digest Ease, which is the mastic gum for people that have the heartburn and digestion stuff. This lady literally goes through 2 bottles of that Digest Ease a week. She absolutely loves it. And there are 60 tablets in that one. So for somebody to go through 120 of those in a week, there's a bad digestive problem going on. So today, because she don't want to swallow any pills, I talked her into getting a bottle of these Chewable Digestive Essentials V. And she's like, well, what will that do? I said, it'll probably save you a bunch of money because you could take those with your meals and cut down on why you're having all this burning. So how is that different than a probiotic?
Well, and also this lady is a doctor's wife, and I've told her husband, the doctor, if she has to do that, now that's good that it gives her that much relief, but I bet she has something else going on, so get her checked out medically. And I'm telling the doctor this. How's it different than probiotic? Probiotics actually can help with digestion, but they help with your neurotransmitters to make you healthier and happier. And there's a book called The Gut, the Second Brain, or something to that effect. The probiotics help with the serotonin, dopamine, GABA. They do some similar things, but you need both. That's probably the most simple way I can put it. But they do help with incomplete digestion, but so do the digestive enzymes. And that will shift the balance, if you will, of the gut. The microbiome or microbiota shifts. It allows them to ferment the undigested foodstuffs in the gut microorganisms. I'm going to stumble all over myself with that one, but they kind of do double duty, but that's one of these things that's synergistic. Probiotics plus digestive enzymes, 1 + 1 equals the power of 3. So it's synergistic in what they do. So don't think one's complete, because 2 is actually worth the effort of 3.
And another interesting little tidbit about the PPI, so if you're taking a medication for acid reflux or heartburn, they actually can put you at risk for bacterial infections. They had a study that was published in the British Journal of Clinical Pharmacology, and indicates that the use of PPIs as well as H2 blockers like Pepcid, Tagamet, Zantac may put you at an increased risk for gut infections. And the study involved about 565,000 adults. They discovered participants taking certain heartburn drugs had a 1.7 to 3.7 time increased risk of developing bacterial infections due to the suppression of stomach acid production. So, and what made me really curious about this article is we actually had a lady that's had some pretty bad issues, and they put her on a just a regular antibiotic type thing for her gut, and she contacted us and said, did y'all give me something that's causing me to have my stomach feels like it's on fire? And I said, nope. I said, you better go check your drugs that you're taking. Well, she come in here yesterday and told me that the antibiotic that they gave her, because she's got these gut issues, actually burned her from the inside, and it burned the inside of her mouth and her lips. She said they've been known to be having to take to a burn unit because it's so bad what it does. So don't think that those drugs are really making you healthier. It may be getting rid of your indigestion and heartburn, but it's not fixing why. And that's what we're trying to help you learn, how to fix it with something natural. But you talked about the Wheat-Zoomer test, the bundle. Right. And a lot of people have been looking at that. They've been online. They don't understand really what's going on with that. It's a more expensive test in their opinion. And yes, it is. And yes, it's a lot cheaper on our end than what you would get somewhere else. The last young lady that we had do that test got about a 95-page report about what all was going on with her, and she'd had problems for a long time and could not figure out why she was having these little red bumps pop up all over her skin.
And we helped her with our regular lab work, and she was pretty good at her young age of consistently taking supplements, and her mother, of course, encourages her. Thank you, Sonia. But we took it to a greater degree.
And so I asked her, I said, no, these people are listening to this or trying to read this. They don't really understand. I said, how are you feeling? I said, you've done the test now. You bought the products that went with it. They are a little bit different products than what we give out for lab work because we can tell exactly what's wrong as far as gut-related type things, what you need to be staying away from. And she wrote us the nicest letter that she gave me permission to read, and I wanted to share it with y'all because I thought it would give someone out there hope and maybe help give them the confidence to go ahead and take the next step and get to the root cause. Her name is Lauren, and she wrote and said, I've been feeling great. My red bumps are completely gone that she'd asked us about for a very long time. I've cut out everything that you suggested, and I have had so much more energy and less brain fog. I've been able to do more productive with my days and even started working out. First 2 weeks, I had some pretty bad symptoms, red bump flare-ups, headaches, lethargic, nausea. But after that subsided, I've been great. I just recently purchased an in-home infrared sauna, so I'm hoping that speeds up my detox. I've already told so many people about the food test. I absolutely think it was accurate. I'm excited to see even more benefits as I stick to this new diet. Surprisingly, my food cravings have already changed, and I haven't been missing any bread or coffee. As always, thank you for your continued help and support. And thank you, Lauren, for letting us share that, because some of that stuff is kind of personal and private to a lot of patients out there. And she wanted to make sure that she was able to reach out and help someone if they wanted to take the next step. And she's literally been telling everybody to go on our website and buy that test because she was just blown away by all the information she received on it.
So Lauren's usually sweet and reserved, but she's a big spear of power and influence because she has sent people from way different parts of the country to get these tests. So thank you and bless you.
Yeah, and we had another question from a girl named Jennifer that said, I get these spots and rashes that come up in various places, but mostly on my arms, torso, and neck and chest area. They don't itch. They don't bother me other than their appearance. Have you ever seen this before? Can you recommend something to try? Well, that's a lot of the exact same symptoms that Lauren had when she decided to do this test. And like I said, it's a one-time fee. Right now it's $600, but it's not like you've got to do it all the time. You need to do it once just to see what you're working with. I think it's a big eye-opener about where your health really is. It will make you realize what you should and should not be doing when you get finished with it. It's not just Dr. Lewis and me telling you this. It's actually written out, and you're able to see it. So Penny wanted to know if you have any in-depth report on your kombucha experiment with the specific probiotics that would be fun to hear about.
I don't know about in-depth because I have to get so detailed with what I read and what I do on the patient's labs. I don't want to do anything that requires instructions or detail once I get out of the office. But I did kombucha. I made a SCOBY out of the Saccharomyces boulardii. I made a SCOBY out of the ProBioLean, which helps you lose weight. Refer back to the Skinny Gut Diet book. I did it with the Probiotic Synergy. I did it with the ProBio Ease. I did it with the ProBio Complete. All of them made a really good SCOBY. It all tasted good. And then, I don't know. It tasted pretty good, and I guess it's working. My guts are so much better than they used to be. But then I did that test. Janet was talking about the Wheat Zoomer bundle, and it told me some things, and it's like, holy cow. As Dr. O'Mara said, self-diagnosis is a calamity on a good day. So don't diagnose yourself. And that kind of goes into what I just got something on Shooting Straight from Cindy down from Fort Polk, Louisiana. And she's tried all kinds of things. I think the worst thing you can do is treat yourself. And the old adage of too many cooks spoil the soup. Sometimes people get so focused on what they have that's wrong that they can't focus on what they should or what health would look like. And that's why one of the books that I tell people to read the Biology of Belief if you don't want to read the Bible, but it all says what you focus on, what you speak is what you get. So we're bad, all of us are bad about focusing and speaking about, well, this hurts and this is bad. And I read this and I'm in fear about that. So you have to get refocused, but the biology of belief will blow you into a new reality of how to think and how to create. But I think in Cindy, I think you're doing too many different disciplines and not really getting super deep into any of them. Pick somebody you really, really, really trust, and then have the faith that what you're doing with them is going to work.
Okay, very good. And then we also have a question about EMFs. Do you think they're not good for us, but how bad can be debated? I have been seeing ads for medals, medallions, etc. to wear to protect you from them. Are they real or fake? Caught you right off guard, didn't I?
Yeah, I didn't know that was coming. Personally, I think they're real, but I think people are overly worried about it. People say, 5G is going to kill the world. And it's like, well, it may, but there's not a dadgum thing you can do about it. So you might as well just get as healthy, and you'll be as healthy as anybody if we make it through, if it's really that bad. I don't know of any way to measure it. That's kind of outside my scope of practice or outside of my interest. But yeah, I do try to get away from the TV, from the phone, from the computer for an hour or two before I go to bed, and that does help. So I do think it's real. I don't know about these shields. I don't know if they work or not. But if you believe it does in your head, it would definitely be worth the money if you have that kind of belief and faith. Even if it's not real and you believe it's real, it is. Refer you back to the Biology of Belief book.
And then Marlena asks, she says, I have an issue with needing to blow my nose when I lay down for bed and get up in the morning. Other than that, I don't hardly blow my nose throughout the day. What can I take to minimize this?
The colloidal silver spray, and all colloidal silver is not the same. I've done the research. I've never been a fan of it, but now that we found this new stuff that does not kill your probiotics, I'm a big fan of it. That would work. We've got something called Guna, Guna, nose spray that works real, real well.
I'm going to say NAC, NAC, N-acetylcysteine.
Yeah.
And the reason I'd say that is because 1 to 3 in the morning is liver meridian. And a lot of times when you're trying to process or clean that up, you'll have a lot of extra phlegm, and the NAC actually thins the mucus and helps to expel it.
Yeah, it creates glutathione, and low glutathione has been noted to be, kids that are autistic have low glutathione, which means they can't detox, and if you increase their glutathione with NAC or other things, actually they get much, much better on the spectrum. So, yeah, NAC is good. It's a really good thing. Generally, it's probably some sort of allergy, but if you let it go, one of the reasons that some of the doctors have trouble fixing sinus problems is because it becomes a fungus, I think up into the 90-something%. So don't let it get that bad. This is kind of indirect, but I'm just, holy cow, blown away by our quercetin bromelain with Immune Essentials. I'm blown away at how good it's helped me. My bronchi has always been an issue, and esophagus and all that, because you hear me clear my throat all the time. But since I've been taking the quercetin bromelain plus the Immune Essentials, which has the green tea, has some of the wonderfully studied mushrooms that are good for treatment of cancer. I can't say that, but there's other entities that do. It's absolutely incredible how much it's cleaned up my GI tract, which cleans up. Your sinuses are almost always a condition of what's going on in your GI tract. So it could be something as simple as, you're eating something that you're sensitive to, not necessarily allergic, but sensitive. So kind of think in those terms. And
then speaking of the GERD, is there anything else that, you might want to mention about GERD, what could be done to help someone like that? Because I know a lot of people, when they go to bed at night, they say they really have a hard time with that at that time of night, or they bend over, and they got the burning sensation and all. Is there any other kind of treatment that can be done? Is that something that you can see on lab work? If they run lab, is there anything on the lab that you look for that you could see that a person might have that?
Well, usually if their chloride's low, I think, you can't make hydrochloric acid. So we can supplement with either betaine with pepsin and or digestive enzymes. But, Yeah, I don't know. Go see a GI doctor, because this silent acid reflux can be very, very detrimental. If I'd have known all this 20, 30 years ago, I wouldn't have had an issue. But
having a great chiropractor helps as well. I know, which I've never seen anyone as good as my husband, but he knows. He has several people that will come in here and get him to do some kind of move on them.
It's a hiatal hernia tug, and I've had people try to come to me, and it's like, I'm retired. I'm not playing with insurance companies. They lie, cheat, steal. They're akin to the devil. But
they're so much better after you do that tug on them. It's like, and you've done it to me, and it's like, oh my gosh, it is great.
Yeah, ask your chiropractor and maybe physical therapist or massage therapist if they know the hiatal hernia tug and the Chinese trigger points that are connected to that. Because, I've had several of those just this week, and it's Wednesday. Even though I don't adjust, I bet I've adjusted 5 or 10 that had that issue already.
And if you're wondering how you can do lab work low cost, go to our website, greenwisdomhealth.com, fill out the health survey. We'll recommend a lab panel. You can see some of those things that Dr. Lewis is talking about that in the results, like globulin and chloride, liver enzymes, all kind of correlating to whether or not you've got a bad digestive issue. Also, we need more questions. We're running out of questions, and we love them. If you could go on Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis on Facebook. People are on there asking things all the time. We are trying to make sure we answer all of them. And like I said, I'm coming through my list here. So you guys give us some new questions. Would love to hear what topics you would like to talk about. Would love for you to share our show with someone. And as always, Dr. Lewis, have you got any closing thoughts for the end of this show to make us feel inspired for the week?
Well, I don't think life in general is worth anything unless you have the need behind the need, or a spiritual and psychological and mental reason for doing it. One thing I'd like to say is a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, and that's out of James chapter 1. Well, when you make up your mind and listen to that discerning spirit, don't double-check yourself. There's so many people that follow too many disciplines. They're doing too much of too many different things. Find something you like, go to it, stick with it. You're born to live big, to love, to create, and to express the miracle you are. You can always look at things and say everything's a miracle, because it really is, and you can create it.
And with that, we hope you guys have a blessed week, and we'll be here next time on the Green Wisdom Health Show.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You're only one step away from a life worth living.